Now, Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastas, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's nice to have you here. I love doing the program, as you know, and I pick my guests because they're very special people to me. I want you to meet Cristyne Nicholas. Cristyne is an outstanding personality. Hi there. How are you?
Hello,
Hold my
Ernie.
hands. Let's shake.
It is so good to be with you again.
A pleasure to see you. Nice warm hands, by the way.
Beautiful new studio.
You like the studio?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
I see all your awards.
Yeah, we got a few little things out here, to let people know what we're doing. It's all about positivity. And, you're one of the most positive people that I know. If someone doesn't know you, if they're watching from somewhere other part of the country, Cristyne Nicholas is a communications guru. She's really an expert in many ways. She was one of the youngest people in America to hold a lot of positions. She was the press secretary in New York City for Mayor Giuliani, communications director. She has her own communications company, and also has been voted as and chosen as one of the most influential women in New York City. She's a powerful lady, and I'm happy to have you here. Communications, you and I have lived with this all our lives.
Yes.
I was doing a story, and it was all about how young college students today are having a hard time finding a job. And the survey that was done with all these managers, they said, you know what, they're not prepared. Their communication skills are terrible. They don't know how to talk. They come in for an interview, they can't talk.
Right.
They bring a parent with them to sit down with them. They're not dressed properly for an interview for a job. I have to ask you something. What's wrong? How come with all the communications that's available to us, how come we don't have the ability to talk to each other anymore?
Because they're talking on a phone. I mean, they're looking at a device, they're looking down, they're not making eye contact, they're not making that human connection that we know so well.
Yeah.
At Nicholas & Lentz, we've been very fortunate. We have had a great hiring track record because we hire interns. We pay our interns. A lot of them are from Fordham University. They're from the local universities. Yeah. But we get to work with them, for 6 months or a year, and then when they graduate, hopefully they will want to come back and work with us. But the ones that have, it's been great. But they know how to communicate. They know how to be with people, to socialize.
How do they know that? Where are they learning that? Where are they learning that skill? I know you help them, but where are they also learning it on the outside?
I think they're learning it hopefully in college. I think they pick it up from home, from their family. But, at our PR firm, we do a lot of in-person press conferences. We work with a lot of city agencies, city business improvement districts. It's all about people, and it's about connecting.
Right.
So they're out there in the field, and they know that if they need to be heard, they're going to have to, speak in a way, not to get totally in front of the person, but, to be part of the conversation. And, so I think it's beautiful. We have had very super shy folks, and they've just blossomed. And that is just as, as a person, but as a boss, as a mom, I just see that, and it just warms my heart to just see how these young people can really, they can blossom into wonderful adults. I think they just have to have that confidence. They have to have somebody like a mentor to
mentors.
really help.
Right.
And I think internships is a way of doing that, if they can join a local group. But they have to have this interaction with adults. And I think that helps.
I think that's important. I think, in the general field of communications, and you and I have seen the development. I mean, there's a plethora of outlets now for news and information.
Right.
And there was a time, and we remember that because we were part of it, there were only 3 basic networks, and there were only like 3 or 4 channels in each city. And now it's all over. It's exploded. Is that, in your view, from your experience, is that a good thing that we have so much available to us, or has that created part of the problem?
No, I think it is a good thing if you know how to utilize it. I think at the end of the day, when you, wherever you get your news from, you should make sure that it's credible. You shouldn't quote. I mean, look at what's happening now with plagiarism. I'll tell you something. I have kids in high school, and before they hand in a paper, before it goes to their teacher, it has to be sent to a third-party AI to detect whether or not there's plagiarism, right? So by the time the teacher gets the paper, she or he knows that this is a clean paper.
Sure.
And this is what's happening now. So, but as far as the news, look, it's a challenge from owning a public relations firm where you know the reporters, and you're right, it used to only be about, 10 stations when I was at City Hall or whatever.
Sure.
Now the bloggers, you never really know which blogger is going to become the next Ernie Anastas, right? I mean, so.
And what we're concerned about, and we both feel the same way, is making sure that we're factual.
Right.
That we've got the truth, and people are saying, I don't know where I can find the truth anymore, but because everybody has an opinion and you can hide, you don't have to expose yourself. Listen, you've done a lot for New York City, and tell me something. When you were trying to develop New York after 9/11, and you were a big part of that, I Love New York campaign, and what was it, the Association for a Better New York, NYC and Company, all of that. Yeah. Has that been really effective now? Because, it was great at one time. Has that changed? Have we lost something here? Because a lot of people, when they start talking about New York, they say, you know what? I love New York, but I don't like this New York.
I think it's time for another big marketing campaign for New York City, and I'm bullish on New York. I think people who come to New York, who have the experience, they love it, right? So, but the folks that have not yet come in, they read the papers, they see the news at night, and you know what it's like. It was all negative. That's why you started Positively Ernie, right? Yeah. But they see that, and it impacts them. And they say, I'm not so sure I'm ready to come back. Seeing is believing, feeling is believing. You need to come back to New York. It's much safer than you think, and the numbers are there to prove it. So I think it's time. Our apple is a bit tarnished. I think it needs to be polished.
Needs some work, yeah.
We've been through this before. Back in the late 70s, we had the original I Love New York campaign, right?
Which was very successful.
Very successful. To this day, you can hear that song in your head, right? I Love New York.
Sure.
Then back after 9/11, we put together another ad campaign, television marketing campaign. All the celebrities came out of the woodwork. They wanted to help.
It was fabulous.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think now is the time again, this post-COVID era, I think there's still folks that are, look, only 20% of the workforce is working from home, and that's probably going to be permanent, right?
Yeah,
I mean, people, they
just... COVID has done a job on us.
Right.
There's no question about it.
But on the weekends, the good news is when you look at the weekend traffic of people coming in on Metro North Long Island Railroad, it's up, right? So
big
people
numbers.
Aren't afraid to come in, but you have to give them a reason to come in, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there is that... reluctance. There are some folks that are, but let's do a beautiful big campaign to showcase the great things about New York City.
Well, why can't we get that started, Cristyne?
Well, I think we're starting it
right
seriously,
now.
I mean, this is the first
should.
I'm talking about it, Ernie, and I'm
think
talking
it's great.
about it
we
to
may
you.
be creating something right here because I think we need that. I think, you talk to a lot of people as I do.
Right.
And I hear the same story. People are saying, look, this is a great city. We live in a great country.
Right.
Why don't we have the leadership to have people that come out there and say, look, I'm going to create this campaign. Remember when Nancy Reagan had Just Say No?
Just Say No.
Okay, and that was very successful.
Right.
When Kennedy had, the Peace Corps.
Right.
I mean, we need to have people like yourself coming up with ideas to say, this is a campaign to create respect and civility in our city and in our country. Cleanliness, why don't we all pitch in and clean up New York?
Right.
Sweep the street in front of you, your sidewalk. But I mean, where is that? Why are we lacking that kind of leadership?
Where's that pride, right?
Why?
I just think once it starts, it can become, contagious, and I think people will catch on and they will be much more positive about New York City. I think what you're doing is really a huge, big step that way. I know the feedback has been fabulous. Everybody's talking about why can't we all be more like Ernie Anastas?
Oh, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. But
it's rubbed off on me. I'm even more positive. And anybody who wants to know, is New York really safe? I'm like, I'm living proof, right? I take the subway almost every day.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, we need to do better. We need to do a better job with mental illness. We need to do a better job with
big problem.
Some cleanliness.
Yeah.
But our city, and we've been through it a lot.
Yeah, we have.
When you look back to even the movies where they were filmed in New York City back in the late 70s, early 80s,
sure,
oh my goodness.
Sure. Yeah, right.
The graffiti on the subways, the trash. Remember a bunch of guys used to warm their hands,
Oh,
right?
sure.
With the
Remember
garbage
very
bag,
well.
right? That was a common thing that you would see on a street corner.
Yeah.
Think about how far we've come and how great the city is now compared to that. Is it where we were back in 2015, 16? No, not quite. I don't feel that way. But that was really at the height, the best that New York ever was. I think we can get back there.
So, all right, here's the question. I mean, we're on the air right now, right? But let's just figure it out. If we wanted to, if you and I said, okay, let's see if we can, because we have enough clout, if you will, to get something started. How could we start a campaign? Who do we talk to? And what would that campaign be? Can you? I mean, I know you're very creative. Could you come up with a slogan right now, like?
Well, after 9/11, we use the I love New York now more than ever, right?
Right.
And then we also used Paint the Town Red, which was something that we were using with NYC and Company because it's a famous slogan. But then we changed it to Paint the Town Red, White, and Blue because we were tapping into that patriotic tourism. People from all over the country wanted to help New York. And so we said, if you want to help us, come visit us, right?
Okay.
That's how you can help. Don't just, say back in Iowa, oh, we love New York. It's like, then come here. I think people need to be invited. I think that's the first move, right? So why don't we have our spokespeople, whether it's the mayor, the governor, some economic leaders, just do a campaign of welcoming people back.
I would be very supportive of that, Cristyne. If you really, because I know you've got the network, if you want to start setting that up, I'd be very glad to help you out, be part of that campaign, produce it here on the air,
right?
Put it, give it some publicity. I'd love to do that with you. I think we need that because we love this city.
Yep.
It has a lot to offer, but we need support. We need some help.
Right. Well, and Times Square Alliance, for one, I know I said I'm talking to you first about it. I bounced it off of Tom Harris just yesterday, and he loved the idea. Damian Bazzadona from Situation Marketing, they do almost all the commercials for Broadway and for so many sports teams. And, so this is a guy that knows advertising. He understands. I said, what do you think if New York does an ad campaign? And he's like, that would be a great idea. Jerry Byrne is another great American,
there you go.
great New Yorker.
We can connect the dots here.
Jerry is the chair of Penske Media Group, which is about 31 famous magazines that we all know of: Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Rolling Stone, right? Women's Wear Daily. Mentioned it to him last night. So this is all like in the last 24, 48 hours, my mind has been like, how can we make New York better? Like, how can we make people understand how wonderful New York City is? They need to come back to New York.
You've got my vote. You really do, and I'm ready for
help. It's a group effort.
Yeah,
and
it is a group effort.
What happened back, when John Dyson was back at the state. This is years ago in 1979, and they came up with I Love New York, and Milton Glaser wrote on the back of a napkin in the back of a cab. Yeah. Right. He made the I Heart New York, and boom, it took off.
Huge.
So
huge campaign.
It's something as simple as that. I'm not a creative marketing expert. I just know that when we need it, it's like, okay, guys, let's all get together. We have the most creative minds in New York City. We are the capital of creative.
Sure.
So let's get those mad men and mad women.
You know what, Cristyne? They say that the difference between a leader and someone who isn't is vision. And if you're able, and you are, if you're able to sit back and say, okay, here we are. We have an opportunity. We have a vision of what we would like this to be. Let's just do it.
Okay.
When you want to do something, start.
Right.
So I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you. Let me talk to you a little bit about your wonderful organization, Nicholas Lenz. You guys are doing some terrific work. You started very young. You were 10 years old when you first got started. You were working with Nixon, right?
I knew
met Richard Nixon?
I actually liked Nixon all because he brought the pandas, if you can. So that panda diplomacy as a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old really worked off. Because I even told my family, we're taking a vacation to the Washington Zoo. I want to see Ling Ling and Ping Ping. So yes. But no, I was a little young back in the Nixon administration. But I did start my career in Washington, D.C., working as a press secretary for Helen Bentley, a congresswoman from Baltimore. And she was a great role model. She was a journalist, by the way.
Sure.
And she became an editor. She worked with the Baltimore Sun. And President Nixon tapped her to be the head of the Federal Maritime Commission. She was the highest-ranking woman in the Nixon administration. And then when she became congresswoman, I worked for her as her press secretary. Can you think of a better role model? I mean, Helen Bentley was just tough as nails, got the job done. I, really miss her. And she was, in fact, when I then worked later for Mayor Giuliani as his press secretary from when he was running for office in 93 up until 99. But everybody thought he was tough as nails, too. And I said, he's nothing compared to Helen Bentley.
There you go.
You
were one of the youngest people to ever hold that position, right?
Yeah, I was the youngest press secretary.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes, at 28.
And you got involved in political circles. You worked with President Bush Sr.
Yes.
And did you ever think about going into politics and running for office? I think you'd be great at that.
Oh, well, thank you. I know what it takes to run, and I'm very happy being where I am and helping whoever the candidate may be or whoever the elected official may be. I also, my biggest job and my biggest constituents are my 3 kids.
I know, you love your family.
So I just, knowing it's very hard nowadays to be a politician, and I see the strain on the families.
Sure.
So look, I give them a whole lot of credit for having the guts to go out, like with Nikki Haley last night, and you watch Ron DeSantis.
Oh,
and,
I saw that.
You know, and I thought they were both fantastic. You know, they made great points. But you think of the strain, what their families must be going through. You know, just they're either on the road all the time, and so I'm very
tough
happy
job
being,
getting into politics. I know, Benny. I always felt that way as a journalist, because some people would say, "You've got some good ideas. Would you want to be a politician?" I said, "No," because it's easier. Well, I won't say easier, but I like the role of being a journalist, because I can bark and let people know what's going on and let them respond to it, rather than having a bunch of IOUs, which makes it difficult. Yeah. Advice, okay? Advice. You've got 3 kids. If you were to give a newborn baby a piece of advice that they could write down someplace and hold on to it, and then later on in life say, Cristyne Nicholas gave me this piece of advice, what would it be? What advice would you give to a newborn?
Listen to your parents. No. But also listen to your inner self, because I think people do have a really good gut feeling of when something is right or wrong. But, you know, and also watch everything. You know, I think that's really important, is to like really see before maybe you speak and get a lay of the land. But look, the advice I give my kids is, you know, try and be happy too.
Try to be happy.
You know, when they have a difficult time, as teenagers do, you know, I look back at my teenage years and I don't remember too much of the hardship, but I remember all the fun that I had. And I said, you're going to remember the fun. Like, try to have some fun too. One
of the best gifts, as a parent, I can say that too, one of the best gifts you can give a child is a good self-esteem.
Yes.
If they feel good about themselves, they'll go on and they'll do whatever it is in life. And you know, there are successes and there are learning experiences, but if they feel good about themselves, they'll always have that armor.
And if they feel loved, and advice I give to new parents is always say, I love you, you know, before you leave. Tell your kids that you love them at night when they go to bed. Tell them that you love them in the morning. Even if you have friction or you may have had an issue, always let them know they're loved. And I tell you, my parents did that for me, and it lives with me today, and it's what makes me positive.
You know, it's amazing how much influence your family will have on you, particularly your mom and dad, you know, and grandparents as well. But if you have that sense of love, it's the best thing that you can have. You're terrific, Cristyne.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to hold you to this, okay? If you start a campaign, I want to know about it, and I'm going to work with you on it, okay?
Sounds great.
Cristyne Nicholas, you're the best.
Thank you, Ernie.
Your organization, Nicholas Lens, is doing fabulous in New York. Great communications company. I wish you so much good luck. Come back again.
I would love to,
Thank
Ernie.
you so much.
Thank you.
Cristyne Nicholas, my guest today. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.